Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 11th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 27 live feeds. It was day 34 in the house, and I'm here on my own to talk through a wild day of nonsense, of fights, of some talk about the veto, should it be used, and some not talking about powers and whether they will be used. And so there is plenty to get through here today. In fact, quite a lot to get through here today. So we're gonna be running through. We're gonna be running through. That's what we're gonna do today. So let's jump straight in. Of course, we know that Ava is the HOH. She nominated Keanu, Vince, and Zach. It's just a fair block. A fair block of Keanu, Vince, and Zach in the veto competition. Catherine beat them all and won the veto. There were some punishments doled out. Keanu is wearing a butt costume. Vince is wearing an egg costume. Zach had to do a lengthy backyard punishment that we did not see on the feeds. He did it with Rachel. And that is important because we start the day, and this was happening basically like right before the update yesterday, with a little bit of an update from Zach when he's talking to Morgan and Vince. I mentioned this yesterday in the update that he was telling them about his time out there with Rachel, and Morgan was saying like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were looking for volunteers. You could have done it with me." And what we did learn is that he had a good conversation with Rachel. He felt good about it strategically, and that she hinted to him that somebody in his camp wanted him on the block and was actively campaigning to send him home. He, at this time, thinks that she might be talking about Ashley, like Ashley is somebody that's looking to try to send him out the door. We know, of course, at least very likely, that Rachel is referring to Mickey. Mickey having just been campaigning to send Zach out the night before. So that was interesting. They then went to bed for a couple of hours, really, which may have contributed toward the nonsense that was the day. But then we started the rest of the day, waking up again with a couple of conversations. Mickey talked to Keanu, and they had a little bit of a back and forth about which person they think should go. And they are on the same page about this, but it still felt weirdly adversarial. But there's something important here that I haven't mentioned so far, which is that the last few days, Keanu has been going around talking about a specific thing that he thinks that Mickey did. And it is unclear to me whether she was actually doing this. I actually feel like she wasn't. Basically, he told something to Riley, and then Mickey questioned him about the thing he told Riley, and he was like, "What? I didn't say that to anybody." And she said, "Oh, okay." And then he asked Riley if he told Mickey about it, and Riley said no. Now, the obvious explanation here is that Riley did tell Mickey about it. And honestly, I can't remember what it was. Keanu's just been ranting about this for a while. But basically, Keanu took from that interaction that Mickey was testing him. She was testing him. She was fishing for information because obviously Riley would never say anything to Mickey. So she was trying to trick him into confirming information that he gave to Riley. There's no way she actually knew the information. He's been talking about this for a while. So he has this interaction with with Mickey early in the day. Mickey then also talks with Catherine in the beginning portion of this day. Catherine, of course, as I mentioned, holds the veto. And the weird thing about Catherine holding the veto this week is that if she chooses to use it, that would be pretty bad for Ava in ways that Ava doesn't even know about yet. And Ava at this point is feeling pretty fine with the veto being used. She really doesn't care. The thing is, she should. Because if Catherine uses the veto on, say, Zach comes off the block, Ava has to replace him with Morgan, and that's kind of what she might have to do anyway, but it saves Zach from having to use his 10K veto power, meaning he gets to keep it for another week, which is not ideal in the first place, not to mention the fact that Ava won't get that 10K. But it gets worse. It gets worse than that. Because if Catherine uses the veto on Keanu or Vinny, then Ava will be forced to replace one of them with Morgan, which she doesn't really mind doing. However, if then Zach also uses his 10K veto power, she will be forced to renom somebody she really doesn't want to, somebody like Lauren or Kelly, or who knows, especially given what we saw last night in the episode, what about Ashley, right? Things could get sketchy. And so she doesn't realize that she should be pushing against the veto being used, but she really doesn't mind. And I talked yesterday about the fact that, with Vinny gearing up his campaign with Catherine, there's really a high chance that this could be used. Catherine does benefit from this veto being used in some ways. If Ava doesn't mind it being used and Catherine can get some kind of deal, build some kind of relationship with one of Keanu, Zach, or Vinny by using the veto, there's definitely an argument for her to use it. Not to mention the fact that Catherine's not the biggest fan of Morgan, and so using the veto to get Morgan on the block, not that bad either. So that is something that we were keeping in mind. But all of that said, Catherine was not planning to use the veto coming into the day, and she says as much to Mickey. Mickey then pushes for Zach to leave if he is on the block. That is something that Mickey has come around to. She was essentially convinced by Morgan, but because it really wasn't much of a conversation with Vinny too much, at least so far. She has this conversation with Morgan a couple nights ago, and she just changed her mind from wanting Vinny out to wanting Zach out. Wanting Zach out was kind of her original thought like weeks ago. She was swayed by Rachel to go for Vinny, and then Vinny was gone, or then Rachel was gone last night, and Mickey has come to the conclusion that Vinny is not as big a threat, less likely to win competitions, less likely to beat her in the end, and also doesn't come with the Lauren problem. Now, I quite frankly think that all of those things are not true. I think that not a single one of them is true. We know that Lauren is more loyal to Vinny. We know that Vinny is maybe even more capable in competitions. And we also know that Vinny will likely be able to make a better sort of compelling case for himself in a final two. But that's fine. This is where Mickey stands. And so she's pushing for Zach to leave if he stays on the block. And Catherine is fully in agreement with this. She doesn't trust Zach ever since the Adrian vote. And she's been hoping that Zach will leave this week as well. However, for Catherine, between Vinny and Keanu, she's not sure. She trusts Vinny more than she trusts Keanu. But Vinny is better for Zach's game, which she doesn't like. And you might be wondering, Taran, why are we talking about Catherine's vote? Vinny versus Keanu. And I'm talking about Catherine's vote because it's pretty important. The vote between Keanu and Vinny is one that should be decently locked in. If Catherine doesn't use the veto, the two of them will be staying up on the block. And that means that there is a very real scenario where the two of them face a vote. And this is a pretty close vote. You have some potential locked-in votes like Ashley, Rachel, and Will against Vince when he's against Keanu, and maybe even Kelly, and that could be as much as 4 votes. You need 5 votes with the tiebreaker. So where do you get the fifth vote? Well, you could have Mickey. You could have Catherine or Riley. There are a couple of those middle people because you would have Lauren and Zach and Morgan, theoretically, as locked in votes for Vinny to stay, which means that like grouping of people in the middle that consists of Catherine, Riley, even Mickey to some degree, and Kelly. Those are the people deciding this vote. And so Riley and Catherine being a block of 2 in that group, pretty important. So Catherine, and not to mention that Mickey's vote herself is pretty important. Now, Mickey obviously has been looking to keep Keanu around and to split up one of Zach or Vince so far. And she says as much to Catherine. She says, the thing about Vinny versus Keanu is that you have to at least take one of Vinny or Zach out of the game. So if we are forced to take out Vinny because he's the one next to Keanu, then that's what we have to do. Catherine agrees, and she says that she is also leaning toward evicting Vinny over Keanu. So this is obviously very, very bad for Vinny in the case that he is against Keanu. And quite frankly, not the best thing for Mickey's game. Mickey should want Keanu gone over Vinny. Mickey is one of his primary targets, and he's been talking about that for a while. So this is a bit of a mistake from Mickey to want Keanu to stay over somebody like even Vinny. But that's where things stand. And so with Mickey and Catherine both agreeing they want to evict Vinny over Keanu, Vinny should leave in that spot if things don't change. But don't worry, they might. So next we had a bit of an interaction, and things start kicking off because the day is pretty slow leading up to this point. But things really start kicking off in the early afternoon when Morgan has finally woken up and starts doing her thing. Now, just to reset this, Morgan in the morning talked to Zach about how he feels like they can win Rachel's vote and potentially make sure that the votes are there for both him and Vinny to stay on the block against Keanu. And the way to do that is to convince Rachel that she should vote to keep Vinny against Keanu because Vinny will agree to not come after her. And so so Morgan is waking up in the morning and going around feeling like, okay, the plan is set. I am going to convince Rachel that Vinny won't come for her. And then with Rachel's vote, we can keep Vinny in the game. She tells Mickey that she's got a plan to keep both Zach and Vince in the game. We can keep both of them. The chances are small, but we can do it. And so she goes to Rachel in the storage room, and she starts pitching this. She says, I think we should keep both Zach and Vinny in the game. They are shields. Do you know what a shield is? It's people that look like Zach. They're shield. And Rachel, of course, doesn't really agree. She's like, what does it even mean to keep a shield? What do you mean? Like, they're all shields? Like, okay. She says, but we need people who are willing to do things that we can't do. Like, for instance, somebody needs to target the showmans. Everyone's so scared of touching them. We need to be targeting the showmans. And Rachel's like, I'm not that pressed about it. Like, and Morgan's like, oh, but listen, I talked to Vinny and he promised he won't touch you, Rachel. He really wants you in the jury. And before I continue, I would like to rewind a moment. Because Rachel just got finished having a conversation with Will where she was ranting about this whole thing about being taken to the jury. Just these kids with no responsibilities, they don't even understand what it's like to be an adult at this point. I have kids. I have responsibilities. This is frustrating. These newbies, they don't even know how to play the game. They don't listen to me. And Will's like, yeah, Um, and she's ranting about like they're talking about sticking me in the jury house. It's disrespectful. She had just finished that like 20-minute rant when Morgan pulls her to have this conversation. And so Morgan says, Vinny, he's not coming for you. If you save him, he will be good because he wants you in the jury. And Rachel crashes out. Rachel blows up. Listen, Morgan, I am not going to jury. I want you to understand this. I'm not going to be in the jury. Morgan's like, well, I'm sorry. I just meant it like as a checkpoint. And Rachel says, listen, if you let me get to jury, I'll get to final two. Do not F with me. The fire has not even come out. I am tired of the disrespect. I'm tired of people not putting the crown on my name. So you can tell your friends I'm not going to mediate the jury for them. Morgan's like, listen, I've always wanted to work with you. I really only backed off because like I knew you were close to Jimmy and Jimmy was coming for me. Jimmy wasn't coming for you. What are you talking about? Rachel, I know he was coming for me. I literally knew every person he was coming for. He wasn't coming for you. Well, I like Ashley told me he was coming for you. Then Ashley is crazy. He was literally not coming for you. So stop talking about getting me to jury. And then she leaves. She leaves the room. And Morgan is just left. Dumbfounded. I've played with better, yeah, she says. So Rachel goes into the bedroom, the bunk bedroom, and she's kind of hanging out in there. And then Catherine walks in and then leaves. And Rachel gets up like a heat-seeking missile, like a bit of a weapon, you might say, and follows Catherine into the storage room. Hey, Catherine. Yeah? I have some information for you. Yeah? Morgan just told me that everyone will want to break up the showmance. So keep that in mind. I'm with you guys. But that's what Morgan said. Keep that in mind. Oh, okay. Thanks. And then Rachel leaves. And Catherine kind of like is clearly thinking about it. She spends some time looking at the memory wall after this. In the meantime, Zach talks to Lauren about his conversation with Rachel the night before. He said she was telling him that someone was targeting him and he wants to know who it is. And she said that, she's like, well, Vinny said that there are people who are trying to run the house. And maybe it's Rachel, Ashley, maybe Will. I don't know. I don't know what it was. That was their conversation. Morgan talks to Mickey, having just had her blow up with Rachel, and goes, Mickey, Rachel just blew up on me. Oh my God. Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. I was literally just, I was trying to talk to her about what I was saying earlier about how we can maybe save both of them. Because I was saying that they were like shields. And then I said, Vince wants to get you to jury. Right? And then she was just like, "Oh, I've won this game before. I'm not going to jury. I'm going to be in final 2." What? I, I don't care if she's won before. She'd be good on jury. And Mickey is like, yeah, if she wants to be final 3, she can just go home then. That's not going to happen. And Morgan then makes the pitch to Mickey that they should keep Zach and Vinny, both of them. And Mickey's kind of like, well, but here's the thing. Vince is going to say whatever. He's going to say he's not coming after Rachel. He's going to say he's going to do whatever. We can't trust necessarily what Vince says. Like Mickey's still on the side of we should be keeping Keanu over Vince in that spot, but very happy to vote out Zach. In any scenario. And that's, Morgan then lets her know about how Keanu's been running around spreading this stuff about Mickey, the stuff that I talked about earlier in the day. Because Mickey finds this out. And this flips a bit of a switch in Mickey. She starts freaking out about Keanu and how he is now dropping her name. And this is true information, and it's a true and proper response to Keanu's rumblings. And you can see through the rest of the day that Mickey has been now swayed into wanting Keanu out. Not necessarily over Zach, but definitely over Vinny. And that's important. That's very important when it comes to the vote. So this is a big moment. In the meantime, Rachel goes to Ava, having just finished her version of the fight. And she says, oh, Ava, I just got into a huge fight with Morgan. Ava's like, what? Rachel's like, first of all, she wants to break up Riley and Catherine. I told Catherine. He was like, whoa. Rachel says, so what if we take down Zach and put up Morgan? What would you think of that? Ava's like, well, I mean, listen, I'm not going to lie. I was kind of thinking of taking down Zach because if Zach isn't going to leave anyway, might as well. I mean, I was thinking, like, I'm not going to lie. Frankly, I was trying really hard to win the veto because I thought, maybe I should put Morgan on the block. Maybe I should. And Rachel's like, okay, but here's the thing. Maybe it's not Zach. Maybe we should be taking Keanu off the block because I'm worried we won't have the votes to send Morgan home if she's up against Keanu because we won't have Mickey. And Ava's like, I don't know. I think we might. And they start counting some votes and they feel like it's roughly 5-5 potentially, Morgan versus Keanu. And she's like, yeah, see, I think we have the votes. And I'd rather have it used on Zach. And they go back and forth a little bit here. But at the end of it, you can tell this is very important for the day and for Ava. Ava's tired. Ava gets a lot of sleep. And she didn't get enough sleep the night before. and she's not having enough time. Like, she's normally napping quite a lot throughout the day, and people are not giving her time to nap because she's HOH and they're coming up to her HOH room to talk about fights they're getting into and new plans that they want to have. And so Ava's face is, and she mentions this. Ava's face is literally like this the whole day. Yeah. So maybe we could use the veto. I mean, frankly, because she's just exhausted and she's tired, and so she's talking about this potential plan, and she's on board. Yeah, she was like, yeah, I definitely feel like that's something that I would consider. But you know what? You know what though? It's Catherine's decision. Catherine won that veto fair and square. I put up a fair block, and you know, if I talk to Catherine and I ask her how she's feeling, and she says, well, I'm thinking I might want to use the veto, then I think we can use the veto. But I'm not gonna push that on her. I'm not gonna push that on her. And so that's kind of where they leave that whole plan. And at this point, I've gone live because on Twitch and YouTube, because it's like, oh, this veto being used is definitely something that could change the week in a pretty significant way. And the pitches haven't really happened yet. There's definitely a chance that that if there's any mention of Catherine potentially wanting to use this, Ava will be okay with it, and a whole bunch of things could happen. So Riley, in the meantime, talks to Catherine, or I should say Catherine talks to Riley, because she's now going to let him know about what she heard from Rachel, but also just in general. Catherine talks to him first about wanting to make sure they have the votes against Zach. And they think they do. And then they start talking about the Vinny and Keanu situation. If it's Vinny versus Keanu, which one do they vote out? Because Keanu is dedicated to them as a couple, as a you know, dedicated to Riley at the very least. He's in the Unexpendables with him. She doesn't know about that, but Keanu's obviously better for their games. But they really like Vince because Vince cries to them and says he looks up to them and compliments them a lot. So they're really not sure how they would vote. And again, this vote is fairly important. The two of them deciding, fairly important. And so they go back and forth, and she's like, well, apparently Keanu already told Vinny that he has the votes to stay over him, because Vinny had just talked to Catherine briefly to try to get her to use the veto, and was talking about how he feels like he's going to be voted out for sure. And Riley's like, oh, you know what? I want Vinny to stay over Keanu. Nah, we're not sure though. Riley's like, well, so what did Rachel tell you? And Catherine tells him, she says, well, Rachel came up to me and she said, Morgan says everyone wants the showmans out. And Riley says, well, that's not true. No, nobody wants that. Everyone loves us. Everyone loves the showmans. That's not true. Catherine's like, I don't know. I think I believe it could come from Morgan though. And Riley's like, I don't care for Morgan. So, yeah. You know, if that effing snake really said that, she's done. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Just because you're miserable in this house doesn't mean I have to be. And he starts getting mad. Now I'm pissed off, actually. He's like, oh, at me? No. Morgan. And so he's fuming, and he's gonna be fuming for hours about this. And Kat says, well, listen, I don't want to use the veto, but in a perfect world with no consequences, I could use the veto on Keanu and get Morgan up there. And it's like, oh, here it is, right? This is exactly what Rachel just proposed. It's what Ava said she is amenable to. That if Kat proposes this to Ava, she will accept it and say, let's do it. Of course, leading to potential disaster for Ava, at least, maybe, because she might have to name 2 replacements now. Riley, though, says she shouldn't use it. You shouldn't use the veto because I'm going to do it. I'm going to put Morgan on the block next week. So we'll see. Rachel then goes to Ashley and starts talking to Ashley about the Morgan conversation. Ashley tries to talk Rachel down from the cliff here. Rachel's like, she said, put me on the jury. Ashley's like, who cares? Who cares what Morgan said? She doesn't know what's going on. She's like, oh, you're right. They go on to talk about Vince versus Zach and which one of them should leave. And Ashley is pitching for Zach to leave over Vince because she's been convinced by Mickey. And Rachel's like, wait, what? What is happening? Why would you want Zach out over Vince? And she starts repeating some of Mickey's talking points. Well, Vince is weak compared to Zach. Rachel says, that's stupid. Vince has so many more people in his corner. People like Riley will not put Vince up. Ashley's like, I don't know. I don't know. Despite the fact that Riley and Catherine are so very firmly in Vinny's camp and very firmly against Zach, almost the entire house has the misconception that they are on Team Zach. It's very strange. Catherine talks to Lauren about this situation and says, and you know, it's a long conversation where, you know, Catherine is kind of trying to figure out, like, well, who would the renom be? Because again, I think she's flirting with the idea of using the veto to get Morgan on the block. And Lauren says, well, I think the renom would probably be Ashley or Morgan. And Catherine's like, yeah, I think so. And Morgan and she said, well, if Morgan goes up as the renom, if that does happen, could she go home? Like, because I'm not gonna lie, I'd be kind of happy with that result. And they talk about this for a while, and it's, again, you just get the sense that Catherine's definitely considering this. Now, during this conversation, it lasts quite a while. Ava does come in and say she wants to talk to Catherine. And so this conversation is upcoming. The Catherine-Ava conversation, will the veto be used, is a lingering question in the air. In the meantime, though, Morgan talks to Rachel. She wants to clear the air, and they both kind of apologize. And so, like, when you say that, it really triggered me. I'm really frustrated with the idea of being brought to the jury just so that I can mediate for people. And Morgan's like, that's really not how I meant it. I really meant it more as a checkpoint. And, I really just feel like I want the two of us to work together. I know Jimmy was coming for me and you were close to Jimmy. Jimmy was not coming for you, Morgan. Why do you keep saying that? And Morgan's like, well, you know what? I know. Listen, if you had told me week 1 that I evicted Jimmy in week 4, I would have told you I was really dumb. And I'm just going to leave that one there. Morgan then starts her whole spiel, right? If you watch the feeds, you know that this happens, right? People just, they're like little dolls with strings sometimes, and they just keep saying the same things. One of Morgan's, and Morgan has a lot of them, is people just don't talk personal with me. I don't have anyone I can talk to about my personal life. Like, nobody asks me questions, and it's not fair. And I'm 33 years old, and I was a D1 athlete and I'm going to win the wall comp. And so, but it's just like nobody, Vinny's the only one, like I didn't even know that Vinny had a girlfriend until like 2.5 weeks into the game, but he's like, and he's still like the only one that will even talk personal with me at all. And she's been doing this to everyone constantly. And Rachel, not really in the mood for it at the moment. Is just like, Morgan, what does that even mean? And Morgan, who's in the middle of her, like, no, nobody talks personal. What? What do you mean? What do you mean? What does it mean? She's like, what? What do you mean nobody's talking personal with you? We had this exact conversation last week. And then we talked a bunch of personal stuff. Like, what are you saying? She's like, what? I mean, what I mean is just nobody talks personal. Nobody talks personal with me. What I mean is that like because I talked personal, but then now nobody talks game with me, and because it's like, Morgan, we talk game with you all the time. You were just saying that people only talk game with you. Well, what I mean is the votes. Like people only talk votes with me, but nothing else. Like nobody talks about like other things. And it just, it's just hard. It's just hard because nobody wants to talk to me the way that I want to talk. And Rachel's like, why do you feel like you're crying right now? She's like, what? I'm like an emotional person, I guess, but I'm not really emotional. I'm just like really a good person. And what do you mean? This conversation gets interrupted by Ashley, and then they cut away from it, so we don't really see a good chunk of it. But it was very funny to see somebody just like not letting Morgan do her thing. Not good for Rachel's game, but funny to watch. So while this is happening, Mickey is in the HOH room with Ava and Will, and Mickey is now retelling the Rachel Morgan argument from what she had been told, which was the retell that she got from Morgan. This is, of course, the slightly more slanted in Morgan's direction version of the story. And Ava and Will, of course, are like, whoa. And she's like, yeah. And then she said, we want to get you to jury. And then Rachel freaked out. And it's like, Rachel, you've won before. Nobody should be taking you to the final three. Like, you don't even, like Rachel doesn't even deserve final three. Like, that's, like, I deserve final three. I've worked so much harder, and Rachel doesn't even deserve it. And she starts crying, and Ava starts crying, and it's like, wait, what is happening? And so they're crying over how Rachel doesn't deserve to get into the final three, and they do. And while this is happening, Ashley walks into the room, and Mickey's like, I'm sorry, Ashley. I'm kind of ranting about something. Can you just leave, please? And Ashley's like, what? Okay. And then she leaves, and Mickey's like, and I don't trust Ashley either. And it was like, me neither. That's what I've been saying. And so they're ranting and raving about Rachel in the HOH room. That's when Ashley moved to the Rachel Morgan conversation and interrupted that one. But they continue in the HOH room. Ava says, you know what? Rachel's nuts because she said that Morgan said that she was like basically gunning for her and the showmance of the season or something. Mickey's like, whoa, Morgan would not say that. Ava's like, maybe it wasn't exactly that. Honestly, I don't remember exactly. Remember, Ava tired. I don't really remember exactly what she said. I think it was something like that. Frankly, I don't know. Frankly, I don't know what to believe. And that's when Mickey starts pitching for Keanu to leave. We talked about this, that she's been swayed by Morgan. She's been swayed by the information that she found out about Keanu spreading her name around. She now is pitching for Keanu to leave in any circumstance. She says, I really just feel like Keanu should be going this week. Ava says, frankly, I don't care. I don't really care either way. I put a square, fair block, and I have no target. There's no target. Do whatever you want. And Mickey's like, well, you need to care because we have to make sure we have the numbers. Ava's like, Mickey, frankly, this is my opinion, and you can disagree, but frankly, and this is my opinion, frankly, this is my opinion, but somebody talk game to you, don't talk game with them until Wednesday. Frankly, everyone's minds are going to change by tomorrow. Everything that people talk about today is going to be erased by tomorrow. This is my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. If I was in the shoes of anybody in this house, I would avoid talking game until Wednesday. That's what I think. If it's a tie, it's a tie. Mickey says, but if it's a tie, what would you do? I don't know, Mickey. I'd go with my gut. Well, I want to go with my gut too. I just need to know which way that should go. Listen, do I think what Ava said is good strategy? No. Do I appreciate that she is expressing the bane of a live feed updater? Yes. Everything that is talked about today will likely be erased tomorrow. She doesn't even know how true that might be if Zach ends up using his veto power anyway. Mickey continues to go off about Rachel. I'm just so... nobody's going to take a shot at Rachel. Nobody's going to take a shot at Rachel. Ava's like, what do you mean nobody's going to take a shot at Rachel? Like, haven't we been talking about how everyone's mad at Rachel? Mickey's like, well, no, because if you miss, it's your ass. Ava's like, but apparently she has nobody. So who's coming? What do you mean? Mickey's like, well, no, she has us. He was like, what? So wait, but what? Listen. Bottom line, one of Zach or Vinny should leave this week. Frankly, that's my opinion. Okay? Mickey's like, but are we empowering Keanu if that happens? Ava says, no. And this continues to go back and forth for a little while, but I think you get the point at this point. So while this is happening, Vinny goes to Riley. He's already talked a little bit with Catherine, but not a full-on campaign quite yet. He talks to Riley. He says he hopes that he'd have Riley and Kat's vote against Keanu. Remember, he's in the egg costume. And he's like doing his Vinny thing with Riley. And I just really love you guys. I just really love you guys. And, you know, I wish I were more like you if you think about it. And you know, the way that you guys are just like, you know, F it all. I'm going to vote however I want. Like, that's what I'm going to play the game. I wish I had the ability to play the game that way. And you know, I just hope that you do the same with me, you know, and I want to vote to keep me. And Riley, of course, eats this up. Vinny, I won't vote against you. Oh, Riley, thank you. Thank you. I love you, Riley. Thank you so much. And I'm not exaggerating. He tears up. So important update on where Riley and Catherine stand on the Vinny versus Keanu vote. Riley is now promising Vince that he will vote to keep him. Now, this is not worth that much because Riley tells everybody he talks to that he will do whatever they want. He then goes to Mickey. And this is important because he's promising Vinny he's going to vote to keep him. He now is going to talk to Mickey about this, and he says, "Well, so what's the game plan? What's your game plan? We getting Zach out of here?" She says, "Yeah, I think so. She says, "You know, something happened today to make me mad at Keanu." And Riley's like, "Wow, okay. Well, I mean, my thought was if Vinny stays, people already want him out of here. So, and he's not afraid to make moves. She says, yeah, I agree. And you know what? It bothers me too that Zach hasn't even come and talked to me at all. I think that Zach would pick Lauren over us. Mm-hmm. The only thing I like about Keanu is that he has no people, but he can't shut the F up. It's hard to beat Keanu's people because he just constantly talks. And Riley's like, yeah, his game is terrible. She says, well, so if we evict, but the problem is if we evict Keanu, the game stays the same with Zach, Vinny, Morgan. But she's leaning in that direction. And so she's leaning in that direction. Riley is leaning in that direction. Evict Keanu over Vinny. And again, that's big because in the event that Keanu stays on the block against Vinny, we are now looking at a scenario where Riley, Catherine, Mickey, Zach, Morgan are all votes to evict Keanu. And you would need Ashley, Rachel, Will, and I'm losing. Where are the other votes? Oh, Lauren too. So that would be 6. So you can't win if Mickey is on board and Catherine and Riley are on board. There are 6 votes even without Kelly, and Keanu would leave over Vinny. So this is very important stuff. Ava then has her conversation with Catherine finally. And she brings Catherine and she's like, oh, guys, yeah, Catherine, I need to talk to you. Yeah, just frankly, we need to have a conversation. And so she goes up, and it's clear that Ava is just exhausted at this point. She just spent like over an hour dealing with Mickey trying to push the Keanu eviction and all of this stuff. And at this point, it kind of is clear that Ava actually doesn't want this veto to be used anymore. But she's not willing to push back against it, at least like obviously. She just wants this all to be done with. And so she opens the conversation. Catherine, be honest with me. How do you feel about my noms? Be honest. Catherine's like, honestly, fine. Oh, thank God, Catherine. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, Catherine, you don't know how much that means to me. Oh, my God. Thank you so much. Oh, man. Catherine's like, yeah, I mean, I thought that you did a good job. Thank you. I just felt like it was a fair block. That's all I wanted to do. And everyone's like, who's your target? Who's your target? I'm sorry. I didn't put a pawn. I didn't go Keanu Kelly pawn, Keanu Kelly pawn. There's no pawn so that they win and then the pawn goes home. That's all anybody can leave. Catherine's like, yeah, it's not a popularity contest. Oh, Catherine, I love you. Thank you. And then this conversation continues for a little while. They get to the topic of, Catherine, I'm so proud of you for winning that veto. You really proved that, you're your own player. People disrespect you so much. They act like you're only here because of Riley. And Catherine's like, thank you. Yes. I appreciate, people don't even think that, like, people didn't even think about me and Riley like that until last week. So if Riley's the only reason I'm here, how did I make it this far? And this is important. Like, this is, remember, I was talking about the Riley Catherine conversation. She was talking about how, like, people in the game don't really see her. They only see her in relation to him. And Ava is really trying to, like, get to the heart of that. Ava is seeing Catherine as her own player, one of the only people in the house that's doing so. And so they really do bond over this, I think. They continue to talk about, and I'm sick of renoms. And Catherine's like, yeah, me too. She says, if I put up 3 people who, frankly, if any of them went home, the game would change. That's what I did. And this week feels so different than any other HOH. So, Catherine, I hope that, if we agree with the veto, I would love to build a bond with you moving forward. And Catherine says, I completely agree. They conclude they are not using the veto. And Ava's like, Catherine, I love you. Thank you so much. Now I am now going to take a nap. So if you could just close the door on your way out, I would appreciate it. And Catherine says, have a good meditation session. Thank you, Catherine. And she puts on her gigantic sunglasses and she falls asleep. So the crisis has been averted. The veto will not be used as of now. And actually, before she falls asleep, she says to the cameras, well, I guess the veto is not going to be used, which is honestly a good thing because I don't want the headache. And then she puts her shades on. She goes to sleep. So we did it. Downstairs, Mickey and Morgan start talking, and Morgan updates Mickey on her second conversation with Rachel, where they were apologizing to one another. But this time, Morgan says, yeah, we kind of cleared the air, but like, I'm pissed. I'm pissed because Rachel questioned me about, because I was telling her about how like nobody talks personal with me, and then she questioned me about it. She questioned me about it. I'm a very, very nice person. I don't like that. I don't like that. And like, if you think about it, like Rachel, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't like that. I'm a very nice person. Mickey says, well, and you know what? Rachel is friends with Keanu. And that's bad for us. Because Mickey, again, is all on this let's evict Keanu train now. And she says, and you know what, Morgan? I don't care what Rachel says. She doesn't deserve to be top 5. Someone more deserving should have that 5th spot. And you know what? The thing about Keanu, too, is who will put him up? Morgan's like, a lot of people? They move on to Ashley. They're so done with Ashley. Mickey tells Morgan, Ashley told me about you campaigning to her last night. I forgot about this part. Mickey earlier in the day was chastising Ashley because she had heard that that Ashley was campaigning without telling Mickey first to Morgan, or having that conversation with Morgan. And Mickey was like, yeah, Ashley told me about how you were campaigning. Or sorry, I think no. She was chastising Morgan for campaigning without talking to her first. And Ashley's the one that told her about Morgan doing that. And so she's like, yeah, Ashley told me that you were campaigning last night without even talking to me first. And Mickey says, just between the two of us, Ashley told me she was really thinking about putting Ashley up this week. Oh, and here's the thing about Zach. I think he used the fact that you liked him, Morgan. I know he used to talk to Ashley about that. Mm-hmm. Morgan's like, wow, so we get rid of him and we work with Keanu and Vinny? I mean, Keanu trusts Vinny more than he trusts Zach. But is he too close to Rachel? Maybe. I mean, Rachel's also trying to cling on to Zach now. And then Zach joins them briefly, and he tells them he thinks he has the votes this week. They go over votes, and he's like, I think I'm good in either situation. Because now that we believe the veto will not be used by Catherine, the next question is, the question on everyone's mind, will Zach use his power to save himself? And when he talks to Mickey and Morgan in this conversation, he believes that he has the votes to stay in any scenario, which is maybe an indication that he's feeling kind of safe, that he might not need to use his power. Now, we know this is not true, but it's what he seems to think in this moment, at the very least. So he tells them he thinks he has the votes. We move away because their conversation gets interrupted. We see Keanu talking with Rachel and Ashley up in the gym, the boxing gym. He's telling them something about Mickey. We come in this conversation late. Ashley says, wow, this is interesting information. And Keanu says, well, Vinny thinks for sure that Mickey has an authoritarian personality. And Ashley's like, wow, you know what, Keanu? I went from not even knowing you to now I trust you. But isn't that interesting? Because aren't Mickey and Morgan really close? And he says, well, oh man, I'm really telling you guys everything now. But yeah, Mickey and Morgan aren't actually that close. Morgan is actually closer to Vinny and Zach. And so Keanu continues his anti-Mickey campaign, which is what's gotten him in trouble in the first place. Zach then goes to Ashley because he wants to chat with her to see where her head is at. And he says, so yeah, obviously I'm on the block. I'm wondering like what you're thinking. And at this point, she has decided to evict him over Vinny. And so she says, if I'm being honest, I heard you wanted to put me up. He says, wow. Well, being straight, I did want to put you up after week 1 because I heard you were saying things about the 10K thing. But on a personal level, like, you're one of my favorite people in this house. She says, listen, I'm just repeating what I heard. I really did like you from the start, but, have you recently said you'd be coming for me? And he diverts the question. He says, I heard Jimmy was throwing my name out. Is that what you're hearing this from? She says, it's not just that. I haven't heard of Vinny or Keanu coming for me. He says, listen, I apologize for that. I just felt like we never connected strategically. We never like fully aligned. We always felt like we were, but then it didn't happen. And they talk over the situation where she talked to him about the Jimmy vote. He keeps asking, like, do I have your vote against Keanu at least? She says, well, who are you targeting? Because the other two have told me, Keanu and Vinny. He says, well, now it's Ava. She says, well, listen, I'm not going to lie. I think it's a split vote this week, but I feel like you know that. He's like, I did not know that. But yeah, I do Ava. I probably also put Kelly and Keanu on the block to keep the noms the same. And the conversation goes on for a long time, a long conversation. They talk more about their targets. They talk more about like getting on the same page. And this is a good conversation for Ashley and a good conversation for Zach. Zach feels better about Ashley afterward, and Ashley feels at least somewhat better about Zach afterward as well. But while this is happening, Vinny talks to Morgan and Mickey, who are both on the same page that they want to keep him over Zach. And he is very happy about this. And they start ranting about Rachel again. And Vinny says, well, I mean, listen, if that's what I need to do, I'm willing to take the shot at Rachel. I'll do that. If my legacy is that I get into a memorable confrontation with a legend, then yeah, that's what I'll have to do. Remember, he's in the egg costume. Zach then goes to Lauren to talk about his conversation with Ashley. He says, I don't want to target Ashley anymore. I think that we have the same targets, and I'm concerned that the things that I've said about Ashley have gotten back to her. So again, good conversation from Ashley to Zach. Keanu then talks to Rachel, trying to convince her to keep Vinny. She's not biting. He says he trusts Rachel more than anyone in the house, and she's not alone. Just remember that. She says, I appreciate it. I want to keep the lines of communication open. But she's, again, not biting on the keep Vinny train. Vince tells Mickey that Keanu thinks that Rachel is voting to keep him. He thinks Rachel is just playing Keanu, though. So don't trust that. Mickey then talks more with Will, saying Vince will be a better juror than Zach. Zach will just always be a vote for Lauren. Hey, there's even a world where we keep both and we work with Vinny and Morgan. Catherine talks to Zach and just lets him know she's not using the veto. And then Rachel talks to Zach. And he's wondering again, who is this person I should be concerned about? Who is this person? And she goes on, she starts to imply some things. He explains that he's just spent 2 hours explaining to Ashley why he said her name and going over who their targets were. And our targets are the same. We should be working together. And Rachel basically just heavily implies that Mickey is the person that she's talking about. Mickey is a person who talked about the 10K, so on and so forth. And she thinks that she knows that Mickey is campaigning against him, and Mickey or Morgan are both kind of like potentially spearheading this whole thing. Zach is concerned that Morgan is going to use his relationship with Lauren as an excuse, as a reason to vote him out over Vinny, which is exactly what's happening. And he says, man, I felt like I was for sure good like 24 hours ago, and now it's all flipped around. Like it's all flipped around. It's like, so you're going to use your power? He says he's been trying to take the 10K target off. When she brings up the 10K, he says, yeah, I've been trying to take that target off my back. I have a way that you could maybe do that, which is maybe give it away, but we'll see. So Rachel then goes to Ashley after her conversation with Zach. She says, well, I know you just talked to Zach. How are you feeling now? And Ashley says, well, after talking with Zach, I'm not sure anymore. Rachel says, listen, the fact that so many people are talking about keeping Vince is exactly why we need to make sure he gets out of here. Now that he's been on the block, his eyes will be opened. And Ashley seems like she's been talked into this. Like maybe we will keep Zach over Vince. So Zach then needs to go and talk to Morgan. And it should be mentioned that they got some alcohol basically right before this conversation. And also, fair warning, just in general for this conversation. They get into the hammock outside, and she says, Zach, hi. I saw you talking with Ashley. I tried to like get in there and ask you to talk with us because like we were gonna have a conversation, like the four of us, but I guess you were busy with Ashley. So you were talking to her for a long time. Like a long time. So but listen, I had some things I wanted to say to you. Okay, well, good, because I have some things I want to talk to you about, Morgan. Okay, well, I just feel like, and Zach, like, you can't tell anyone about it. This is hard. But so I feel like there are things that I've said that have gotten out. Like, Zach, I want to be honest with you. I found a crack in the house. Like, there are certain things that are said that are like, okay, how can I say this? How can I take this in and relay it in a way to have both of you stay? It ate me up that you guys are both good for my game. And the fact that I have to pick a side sucks. Zach's like, well, listen, I'm just going to win the blockbuster. Zach, I don't know how the house feels. Here's what I want to tell you. How did the conversation with Rachel go last night? Well, it was really good. It was like really good. Like to the point of her saying she wants to keep me. She wants to save me. To work with you? And who else? And he does not answer that question. He diverts. He starts talking about, well, so then I talked to Ashley, and basically somebody told Ashley that I was targeting her. She's like, "Oh man, you did talk a lot. You talked a lot with Ashley just now, like a lot. I tried to get you. I did try to get you." Says, "Well, yeah, because there was a lot to talk about." Okay, so Rachel is like telling me a lot more. She wants me here. She's like, I don't understand Rachel. The Jimmy thing just really messed things up with Rachel. I was really trying to work with her, and then the Jimmy thing happened. Says, listen, Morgan, I don't know what this is all about. I hope you know I'm just trying to survive. Zach, I was willing to put my life on the line in this game for you by using the veto on you. I hope you know that. He says, yeah, I felt the same way. I literally told you I was going to use the veto on Vince this week. I know. I've just heard some things about, you talking about me. Listen, okay. And you can't tell anybody this. I'm going to tell you that this is like a big thing that happened today. Okay. You cannot tell anybody. Cannot tell you. But okay, wait, but hold on. But first, how do I say this? I was one of the last people to find out about like your thing with Lauren. And I'm not gonna lie, like I was flirting a little bit at first. Like and I feel like you weren't really like honest with me. Hold on, I need some more drink. I feel like you weren't really honest with me about Lauren. And when she talks with other people, I just I don't know. I don't know how to say this. I don't know. I'm not good at this. I don't know. I think you just need to say it, please. Like rip the Band-Aid off. I just think like our relationship as friends was implied to be I don't know. I don't know. Basically, you knew that I was feeling you and you were taking advantage of that. This is, no. Listen, I had a conversation with Ashley about how we'd gotten closer, and she asked me if I noticed you had feelings for me. Uh, Zach, I mean, the thing is, it's not like I had feelings for you. Like, obviously, I'm attracted to you. A lot of people are attracted to you, and they made it seem like I was the girl, like really hoping that you would like me. And then the feeds cut, and then they come back, and they come back on him saying they're trying to sow divide between us. I've told you about everything. That group of 6 is not true. I assume she brought up the bond. Who told you, and who did they say they heard it from? Well, Zach, before I tell you that, I want to tell you something. You can't tell anyone. You can't tell anyone. If this gets out, I'm done. I'm done. Okay? I'm done. You can't tell anyone. The reason I'm asking you how your night with Rachel went, I genuinely want to know how your night with Rachel went. I'm just trying so hard to keep you both. So what happened last night with Rachel? He says, listen, she said she wants Vince out 100%. She thought I had the votes, so obviously things have changed. Rachel has told nobody. Rachel has nobody that she trusts in the game. She's trying to like create some type of relationship with me, and she warned me to be careful about like one particular person. Me? No, no, no. She implied Mickey wants me out of the game. You can't tell. She made me swear to not tell anyone. You are the only person I'm telling. So if this gets out, no, no, I promise I won't tell anything. I won't say a word. But listen, if I had to guess why she potentially wanted Vinny out, it's because, or no, if I had to guess why Mickey might have potentially wanted you out, it's because you don't talk to her enough. Um, and she has talked about how she knew that she was brought into our thing as the fourth. So I think you can understand why. But listen, I think there's a way to keep you, but only under very specific circumstances that you're not gonna like. Because if Mickey can believe in our thing, maybe she'll feel differently. Now you can't tell anyone about this. Zach's like, okay, here's my thing. She said that about me regardless of who's going on the block. No, 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 hear me out, hear me out. I was in the storage room today. Zach, this could save your life in the game. Okay? Okay? But you can't tell anyone. I was in the storage room today. And at this point, she's been teasing this for like, I swear it feels like an hour. What is she gonna say? I was in the storage room today and I was talking to Rachel. And I was saying that Vinny wanted to bring her to jury. And she said, if you and your friends think they're going to put me in the jury. He's like, okay. He's like, yeah, okay. I don't think she has anybody. Yeah, no, she doesn't have anybody because she's looking for people because she needs them. She popped off, okay? And she said she heard she'd be great on the jury as a mediator, verbatim what I told you and Vinny. I didn't say anything. No, Zach, she was basically threatening me. She said, "You're friends with an S." Okay. Zach. um, I'm feeling something right now. Well, I'm going to tell you how I feel after. And he reads this, that she's looking for him to have a bigger reaction. I'm sorry you went through that, Morgan. Zach. It's that she said friends with an S. Okay? Referring to you and Vinny. I feel like I'm doing everything for you, and you have so many people. People like who? Ashley. You talk with her a lot. Like, you talk with her a lot. When I heard about conversations with me or whatever, there were portions of the day when I didn't trust you, okay? I was not okay today. I'm still not effing okay today. When I hear someone like Rachel say, "You're friends," oh my God. Why do you think she volunteered to do the punishment with you? She has nobody. She has to build a relationship with you. Zach is like, listen, in my opinion, she's gunning after Vince. But who after that? Here's the thing, Zach. You do have people like Lauren. We know you have Lauren. And honestly, she's maybe someone we can't take to jury. I'm going to do so much praying, but like, that we win, but like, we're going to have that conversation, Zach. And he's just like, but okay, but like, you do understand where I'm coming from when I have somebody telling me that one person who's in a close alliance with me is trying to get me out and bringing up the 10K. Because that's the thing too, is that this is, she also apparently brought up the 10K. Well, I haven't talked to Mickey about this since you talked about this, but I was in the storage room. But hold on. Listen, you're gonna have to make a choice of whether or not you'll take a shot at Rachel. How does me taking a shot at Rachel help me stay? Because then Mickey will feel like our alliance wasn't just for her HOH. Mickey is a person of action. That's why she likes me and Vince. you know Vince. He's ready to take any effing shot. He's ready to tear up the house. But yeah, so there's a chance that if Mickey knew Rachel threw her under the bus, she would be grateful to you. So maybe you should tell her that. He's like, listen, Morgan, my thing is that Adrian told me the same thing about Mickey, like weeks ago, that she mentioned the 10K to him as well. So this is the second time that she's brought this up to people. But listen, it's worth a try. But Morgan, how is this going to save me? Because Mickey has a lot of sway in the house. I've been trying to convince her to keep you over Keanu. And wait, Keanu? Yeah. What? Wait, she's gonna evict me over Keanu? Why would that even be a question? No. What I'm telling you is that we're in an alliance, and we're still like 4 weeks away from and remember about the friends. Yeah, I don't think I want to throw Rachel under the bus to Mickey when Mickey's been throwing me under the bus the whole time. But when we were in the storage room, oh my God, Vince was so funny. He was like, if I need to battle Rachel, I'll do it. It was so funny. We were in the storage room and he said that. Oh, and I've been hearing that you're gonna take Lauren over me. And I love that for you guys, genuinely. I genuinely love that for you guys. I have no problem with that. He's like, I've literally never said that. And listen, at this point, I don't even care. He's like, who told you that? Who told you that? You have to tell me. Morgan, who told you that I would choose Lauren over you? I've literally never said that in this house. You know who she is. Morgan, please just tell me who it is. You talk to her all the time. Morgan, you talk to her all the time. Morgan, come on, just tell me a name. You talk to her all the time. Morgan, please name the person. You talk to her all the time. 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 All the time, Zach. You talk to her all the time. You talk to her all the time. You talk to her all the time, Zach. Sorry. Don't know what happened there. Ashley? Mm-hmm. Oh, she's lying. The conversation gets interrupted again when Will starts listing foods. Feeds cut away. Anyway, in the meantime, they're hanging out in the HOH room. Ava is talking with Rachel. Rachel's giving Ava a pep talk because Ava's really feeling the tiredness still. Kelly made her a little heart cookie as a little thank you for not putting her on the block. So that was nice. In the meantime, Catherine tells Keanu she's not looking to use the veto. Keanu says that if she were to use it, she could even use it on Vince. But she doesn't really plan to. She also lets Vince know that she's not really planning to use the veto. He gives more of his usual spiel to her and Riley. You know, people talk to me all the time, and it's not like I'm trying to play the middle or anything. And it's like why do people even have a problem with it? And Riley says again to Vince that he's voting for him to stay no matter what. And I appreciate that so much, Riley. Rachel talks to Ashley, trying to convince her more to keep Zach over Vinny. And it is, again, starting to work. Zach comes over to them in this moment, and they start talking about how they can get the votes for him to stay because it's kind of looking a little sketchy. After this conversation, Zach goes to Lauren, and he tells her a bit about the conversation that he had with Morgan. He was like, I had to talk to Morgan for 2 hours, and I think we're good now, but like, oh my God. And I'm trying to figure out if I should tell this information, because the dilemma for Zach now is, should he tell information? Should he do what Morgan told him to and tell Mickey about Rachel, or should he try to keep it to himself? He's asking Lauren for her advice. She says, I would keep it to myself. He says, I'm just confused about what Ashley is all about, because, you know, apparently she told Morgan that I would choose that I would choose you over her, and that she was leaning toward evicting me last night. But now I think she's leaning toward keeping me because we were just talking about getting the votes. And you know, oh man, it's just all over the place. He then talks to Vince. Vince tells, and this was very sneaky of Vince in a way I do enjoy. Vince goes to Zach and says, "Hey, I talked to Catherine and I told her I didn't want the veto to be used." Because if the veto is used, Morgan will just go up, and that's just a lateral move. And so I didn't want it. And this is, of course, not true. He was begging for the veto to be used, but Catherine didn't want to use it. But he's acting like he didn't want it to be used, I assume, because he doesn't want Zach to try to convince Catherine to use the veto on him. Inadvertently, this could act as a little bit of a deterrent to Zach using his power. The idea that Vince is saying that the veto shouldn't be used at all implies that Zach shouldn't use his veto. But we'll see. Ava talks to Morgan late at night because she now is under the assumption she will not be naming a replacement nominee and wants to clear the air with Morgan. She says, you know, I just wanted an equal block. And Morgan says, I understand. I wasn't even worried that you would put me up. As a renom, I would have understood it. And Ava says, yeah, well, as the renom, I looked and there weren't, a lot of options. And so I hope you understand it's just a game. Basically confirming that she would have been the renom and that she is the renom if a renom were to happen. Couple more conversations into the night. Ashley talks with Mickey now that she's been flipped back over to want to evict Vinny over Zach. And she tells Mickey about the conversation with Zach. Now, it wasn't an amazing conversation from her perspective, because from her perspective, it took Zach about 45 minutes to finally admit the truth that he had been looking to target Ashley recently, that he initially was trying to pretend that it was just after week 1. She also says that Morgan has been fighting hard to keep both Vince and Zach, which really shows where Morgan's loyalties are, right? Mickey says, well, I do think that I trust Vinny more than Keanu. Ashley's like, what? What do you mean? That's surprising. I mean, obviously, if Vinny stays on the block, we need to take the shot. Well, says Mickey, I don't know. Vinny is not as well connected as people think. Ashley's like, so you think we should keep Vince? Mm-hmm. Okay. What about Zach versus Keanu? I don't know. I think I do trust Zach more than I trust Keanu. Ashley's like, no, it makes way more sense for Keanu to say it. He's going to be on the block every single week. I don't know. I don't know about that. I kind of want Vince to stay over Keanu. Ashley's like, really? Girl, you've changed your mind completely. If it's Keanu and Vince, we have to take out Vince. It's just the more logical option. Mickey's like, well, I mean, I have like 6 votes. So I think we're going to have to figure this out. Okay. Again, interesting stuff. We'll see how much it sticks after the potential power play by Zach. Vince and Lauren check in at the end of the day. He gives his usual spiel. Just something I wanted to note with Vince and Lauren. They are probably the only two people in the house that are, I would say Lauren is probably the only person in the house that is fully open with her game to another person, and that person is Vince. And there's so much power in that. Unfortunately for her, Vince is not the person she should be doing that with, but very effective stuff. If it weren't such a long update already, I might get into it more, but Zach talks to Mickey finally. And the question on everyone's mind, is he going to rat out Rachel? Is he going to follow Morgan's advice? What's going to happen here? Before he can really get anywhere, she kicks the conversation off. Zach, your kryptonite is Lauren. I'm not going to lie. Your kryptonite is Lauren. And he says, okay, well, I wanted to talk to you about Ashley because I heard that Ashley was talking about the 10K thing and telling Morgan about how I would choose Lauren over her. And so I wanted to know what your thoughts were on like me making a deal for safety. And Mickey says, well, I mean, if you make a deal with Rachel, would you have even anybody to target at that point? And listen, Zach, I want to be transparent about something though. I really do. I really want to be transparent about this, Zach. I know you love Lauren, but at some point, I'm going to put her up. So I don't want you to be mad about it when it happens. I just want to get that out of the way right now. I am going to have to put Lauren up. I'm sorry. I forgot that Mickey was the HOH this week. My bad. So that conversation did not go well, and Zach did not tell her anything about Rachel. Mickey then talks to Rachel to end the night. She asks Rachel about the argument with Morgan. Rachel tells her perspective of it. She says she got frustrated because Morgan repeated the exact same line that Vince told her the day before. Mickey defends Morgan in the conversation. I don't think she meant it that way. Then Mickey starts campaigning to keep Vinny. And Rachel's like, to keep Vinny, we should talk tomorrow. And they go to bed. And that was the day yesterday. Heading into today, the question on everyone's mind, will Zach use this power? There's a world where Zach has now found out a lot of information about the state of his relationships, and he can now use the power and proceed in the game because of that. Like, keeping that in mind, it actually reminds me a lot of Lisa in Big Brother 3 when she was on the block, and she basically like learned a lot about where her alliance stood when she was up against Eric, and how they were all basically choosing to evict her over him. And then Danielle and Jason were able to use that to really pull Lisa in their direction. Turns out it worked really well for Lisa in the end. But Zach should theoretically be learning a lot about where Mickey stands, where Morgan stands, where even Vinny stands in all of this. Lauren has actually been pretty chill about the whole situation, so he may not learn where she stands, which is also on Vinny's side. But you know, a lot of people have been like, what is Zach doing? Why isn't he telling people he has the power? Why isn't he just like, why is he acting like his life is on the line? Like, are people going to be mad at him for keeping this a secret so long? Is he going to use it at all? Why is he campaigning so much if he plans to use the veto? There's a world where he's just gathering this information to use it. I mean, the conversation with Morgan is particularly hilarious if you believe that he plans to use the power at the veto ceremony and that she's going to be up on the block instead of him. Does he plan to do that? That is something that we have to wait to find out today, because the veto ceremony will take place today. I will be live tonight for the roundtable. So if you want to fill out the survey, I will be releasing it after the veto ceremony, where we see the end result of what happens. If Zach takes himself off the block, I do fully believe that Morgan will be up in his place. If he does not use the power, I think there is a very high chance that Zach is the person who leaves this week. On top of that, given all of the other things that happened during the day, I think that we can also determine that there's a decent chance Keanu could be the person evicted this week, because he lost Mickey as a vote, and that is very, very bad for him. And so Keanu versus Zach, Keanu versus Morgan, he should be fine for the most part. I think that Riley and Catherine would vote out Morgan over Keanu. They do not currently plan to vote out Vinny over Keanu. So a lot of different potential outcomes. There is still an outcome where Vinny leaves, of course, but that is looking smaller and smaller over the course of the day. But as Ava said, things change every day, and it was only Sunday, and now we are here today on Monday, and I'll talk about everything that happens today on Monday, tomorrow on the update at 11 a.m. Eastern. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I have a book. I wrote a book. Isn't it cool? It's going out to people. They're reading it. They're loving it. They're giving me such awesome feedback. I've really appreciated it. If you like this update and you like the storytelling that I do, that is basically what this book is. It's a live feed update for the entirety of the show. Basically, that's sort of how I look at it. So check it out, taranarmstrong.com. You can pre-order it now. You can get a signed copy, all of that good stuff. Make sure you check out the roundtable tonight, the update tomorrow, the slop tomorrow, and all kinds of other stuff. I'm going live on YouTube and Twitch all the time. I was live yesterday watching some of these feeds, reacting to some of them in the moment. And you can check that out over there. I'm also going to be recording a Tastemakers podcast today. That is a scripted show podcast where we talk about the latest TV shows and movies that are coming out. I watched Weapons. I made a reference to it today during the update. And so we're going to be talking a bit about Weapons today on the Tastemakers. And joining us will be one Taylor Hale, if you want to get Taylor's take on Weapons as well as mine, as well as everything else that came out this week. So check out the Tastemakers over at We Know Scripted TV and all of that good stuff. All of that good stuff. Listen, the chat apparently wants me to mention that Riley did make out with Catherine again last night. So blame the chat for that one. Thank you for joining me, and I will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.